Have you ever wondered about the presence of invisible forces walking among us? Powerful beings, yet delicately hidden, waiting for the right moment to intervene. These beings are not just legends or characters from ancient stories. They are real. And yes, they are here now. Angels with their invisible wings may be closer to you than you think, carrying out divine missions that challenge our understanding. They are sent by God to protect, guide, and even transform destinies, always watching closely, always present in our daily lives. The Bible does not describe them as mere decorative figures or abstract symbols, but as active agents in the spiritual world. They are described in various ways: imposing warriors, heavenly messengers, and even beings of pure light, tasked with missions that transcend our ability to understand. However, one question remains: how can we understand the true nature of angels? Are they mere symbols of divine power, or do they continue to act in the physical world, silently moving among us as invisible guardians, fulfilling their mission? The Bible offers fascinating glimpses into the roles of angels. In several passages, we see that they play key roles. When you read about the angel Gabriel announcing the birth of Jesus, or about Michael waging war against the forces of evil, one thing becomes clear: angels are powerful. They have a divine mission, and their actions go far beyond what we imagine. They are more than simple intermediaries between heaven and earth. They have a direct and profound impact on our lives. But what is their real role? It is not just about being a symbol of God's protection, but about being agents of change, executors of justice, shaping the course of eternal events. They are not only present in times of great need, their actions are constant, often invisible, in spiritual battles that occur far beyond our perception. Have you ever experienced their intervention but didn't realize it? How many times has your life been saved or guided in an inexplicable way, without a logical explanation, but with a divine sense? Now, we need to address an intriguing question. If angels were created to serve God, how is it possible that some of them rebelled? The Bible speaks of the fall of Lucifer, an angel who, in his pride, sought to equal God and was cast out of heaven. But how can this happen? How can spiritual beings created directly by God act rebelliously? This event raises an even deeper question about the free will of angels. When Lucifer and his followers decided to challenge God, were they exercising a freedom granted to them, or was this a flaw in the divine design? These questions generate an important tension in our understanding of angels. Do they really have free will like humans? Or was their nature shaped in such a submissive way that rebellion was impossible to conceive from the start? The answer to these questions can be found in the Bible's subtext and in apocryphal texts like the Book of Enoch. These writings speak of the Watchers, angels tasked with overseeing the earth who, upon disobeying God, descended to have relations with human women, producing a race of giants, the Nephilim. The story of their fall is an important lesson about divine sovereignty and the freedom of created beings, even angels, who were subject to the same kind of temptation we, humans, face. By now, you may have begun to realize the magnitude of the angels' role. But what happens to them today? Did they only exist in ancient times, or are they still actively involved in the world? This is a point of great debate, but the Bible offers clear answers. Angels did not disappear with the end of the biblical era. They continue to act behind the scenes in God's plan, guiding and protecting those who walk in faith. But have you ever had an encounter with an angel? Perhaps you have felt a presence, an energy, something inexplicable, but never thought it was anything beyond your imagination. Or maybe you felt an inexplicable peace in moments of great distress when everything seemed lost and something or someone intervened to bring relief. These moments are not coincidences or mere happenstances. They are the silent work of angels, invisible to our eyes but perfectly aware of our needs. Every account of an angel present, whether as a guide, protector, or even a messenger in human form, reminds us that we are not alone in this world. No matter how distant or aloof angels may seem, they are here, now, acting in our lives in mysterious and wonderful ways. And perhaps, just perhaps, you have felt an angel in your life even without knowing. The presence of angels is not a new idea. Since ancient times, they have been described as spiritual beings that cross the physical world, bringing messages from God and interceding for people. In the Bible, their actions are always linked to fulfilling the divine purpose, whether by guiding, protecting, or correcting. But what does this presence mean? Are angels still among us today, fulfilling the same mission? The idea of invisible spiritual beings acting in our daily lives is a reality that many prefer to ignore. Rational explanations often take precedence over spirituality, creating a space where the supernatural seems like a distant idea. Modern logic tries to demystify everything, offering scientific explanations even for phenomena that in past times would easily be attributed to divine intervention. But does disregarding these invisible forces prevent us from perceiving something much greater than our limited minds can comprehend? In the hustle and bustle of modern life, we often forget to look at the small details, the subtle signs around us. How many times have you been in a place, perhaps in a risky situation, and suddenly felt something that alerted you? An inexplicable sensation that made you change direction, avoid danger, or simply make a decision that seemed to come out of nowhere. Could these just be coincidences? Or might an angel in some way have been present, guiding your steps without you noticing? The Bible speaks very clearly about the presence of angels. They are not merely messengers bringing God's words, but also warriors, protectors of the righteous, and executors of divine justice. They act in the spiritual world in ways beyond our understanding. Perhaps this is the reason for so much disbelief in angelic interventions. Modern man, so focused on what can be seen and touched, often forgets that there is a vast spiritual realm operating around him, invisible to his eyes, but real in its influence. And if the angels, those who were present at the moment of creation, are still here, acting in our lives in ways that elude us, have you ever thought that the presence of angels might be more common than we imagine? Not in the form of celestial beings with shining wings, but perhaps disguised in everyday circumstances, in unexpected encounters, in the decisions we make, and in times of need. Have you noticed that in moments of great despair, something seems to stop us from making rash decisions? Or that in situations where there seemed to be no way out, something or someone appeared to give us the right direction? These moments might be more than mere coincidences. The Bible tells us that angels are at God's disposal to act on behalf of those who seek His protection. They are not figures from the past. They are present now, in our lives, often in an invisible way, but with a clear purpose. Let us imagine for a moment that with every step we take, there are invisible forces working to protect us, to guide us in the right direction. Are we able to perceive these interventions, or are we so distracted by the world around us that we overlook the divine touch? Every event that happens in our lives has meaning, a purpose, even if we cannot fully comprehend it. Perhaps deep down, this is God's invitation to recognize that even in the simplest situations, His hand is present. The spiritual battle that occurs around us is real, even if we cannot see it. The presence of angels as agents of God is a constant in this process, helping in the battle against the forces of evil, protecting the righteous, and guiding hearts toward divine truth. Perhaps you've already had an experience where something seemed to protect your life in a supernatural way. Or maybe you felt an inexplicable presence in moments of distress or fear, a deep comfort that cannot be explained. These moments are not mere coincidences. If angels are in constant action, guiding, protecting, and intervening in our lives, why is it that many people do not perceive them? The answer may be simple. We are not attentive. We are so immersed in the routine of life that we often forget to look at the invisible, to perceive the divine amidst the mundane. The Bible teaches us to walk by faith and not by sight. And perhaps this is exactly what it means, being able to perceive the presence of angels even without seeing them physically. Every time you experience an inexplicable moment of peace, a sense of security, even in the midst of the storm, perhaps it's time to reflect. Could it be an angel? It wouldn't be the first time they act invisibly. And perhaps by perceiving these interventions, we can draw closer to the truth that we are never alone. There is always something greater, a divine force working on our behalf, something that transcends our human understanding. The truth is, angels are not just guardians of the past. They are active parts of God's story in our lives, working behind the scenes, guiding our steps, protecting us from unseen forces, helping us reach our divine destiny. And now, more than ever, perhaps it's time to open our eyes and recognize their presence. They are here, by our side, often in a silent way, but always present. Have you ever wondered then, if you are perceiving the messages from the angels around you? They are speaking to you all the time, but are you listening? Perhaps many times, what we lack is not a clear sign, but the willingness to listen. The world is loud, filled with distractions that pull us away from what truly matters. We are so busy with the demands of daily life that we often ignore the small divine touches that come our way. However, the truth is that angels never stop calling us. They are always present, always working, but the question is, are we attentive enough to perceive them? What is needed to hear the soft whisper of the angels? It takes a heart willing to trust, to look beyond what is visible and tangible. When we quiet ourselves, when we silence our minds, it is then that we begin to feel the presence of something greater. It may be a sense of peace in the midst of chaos, an answer to a silent prayer, or even an unexpected vision that lights up an uncertain path. These are the moments when perhaps the angels are gently guiding us without haste, waiting for us to do our part, to be open. The Bible speaks of many types of angels, warriors, messengers, protectors, but what they all have in common is their divine mission. They are sent to serve God's will and fulfill His purpose. And in our lives, they play an essential role, not because we need visible proof, but because God, in His infinite wisdom, chose these beings to help us in our journey of faith. They do not care about applause or human recognition. Their only motivation is to fulfill the divine plan. And sometimes they do this in very simple ways, protecting us from invisible dangers, guiding us to make wise decisions, or even reminding us that we are not alone, even when everything seems lost. In moments of pain, many ask themselves, where are the angels? And perhaps the answer is that they have always been there, but we didn't know how to see them. Suffering can blind our eyes, but it can also open our hearts to divine intervention. There is no pain that is in vain, and even in times of loss, something is always being accomplished in the spiritual realm. The comfort and peace we feel when we least expect it may be manifestations of this angelic presence, often invisible but real. But it is also important to remember that as human beings, we have a role to play in this scenario. What do you do with the intervention of angels? Do you allow yourself to be guided by them, or do you resist their help? It is easy to doubt, it is easy to ignore the signs given to us, especially when life pushes us to places of despair. But trust in God's plan. The faith that He is acting on our behalf is the key to realizing that what angels not only exist, but are actively involved in our lives. In fact, angels are often working to keep us on the path of righteousness and truth. When we stray from God, their intervention is often what brings us back. They are the invisible hands that hold us, the forces that push us to choose what is right, even when everything inside us seems to lead us to error. They are not passive guardians, but active, always ready to intervene when we ask God for help. And when it comes to spiritual warfare, angels are also God's soldiers, fighting against the forces of evil. They are at war, not only for us, but for the glory of God. Each battle won is a victory for the kingdom of heaven, and in some way, we are also part of this war. Perhaps we cannot see the spiritual forces around us, but that does not mean they do not exist. And for this reason, we need to trust in divine protection, knowing that we are not alone, even when we face seemingly insurmountable challenges. So, what can we do? How can we prepare to receive the help of angels and allow them to act in our lives? The answer begins with faith. Faith in God, faith in His plan, and faith in the reality of the spiritual world, but it also requires from us a posture of humility to open our hearts to the truth that we need divine help. We are not alone on this journey, and the angels sent by God are here by our side, ready to guide us. Now, more than ever, it is time to look beyond the visible. The presence of angels may be closer than we imagine. Every choice we make, every step we take, can be influenced by these invisible forces. So, when facing life's challenges, ask yourself, am I ready to hear the voice of the angels? Am I attentive to the signs around me? Because believe me, they are closer than you think, ready to help, ready to guide, ready to bring the peace you so desperately need. As we move forward in our spiritual walk, we must remember that we are not alone. God sent His messengers to protect us, to guide us, and above all, to remind us that we are always under His watch and love. Even in the shadows, the light of angels accompanies us, illuminating the way, protecting us from unseen dangers, and leading us to eternal truth. So look around, feel their presence, and trust in the divine help that has always been by your side. As we delve deeper into spirituality, we often begin to realize that each step we take is a reflection of divine intervention, even when we cannot immediately see the whole picture. The angels, in their divine mission, accompany us at every moment, leading us to reflect on the choices we make and the way we live our faith. Every act of kindness, every gesture of forgiveness, every sincere prayer is a way of opening the door to that invisible help, that assistance that keeps us steady amid life's storms. And as we recognize the presence of angels, we begin to understand that they are not just beings of light, but also messengers of God, bringing with them wisdom that transcends human understanding. They do not interfere with our freedom of choice, but guide us with wisdom, helping us see the truth in situations where we often feel lost. It is not just a desire to protect us, but to lead us to a deeper understanding of the divine purpose, bringing us closer to God and allowing us to grow in His grace. God, in His infinite goodness, did not leave us at the mercy of the chaos of the world. He sent us the angels as an expression of His constant care, reminding us that even in the darkest hours, we are being guided by a higher love. This love sustains us, comforts us, and gives us the strength to keep going, even when the journey seems difficult. And often when we look back, we see how each step was carefully guided, how every mistake was redeemed, how every fall was followed by an opportunity to start again. This is not mere coincidence. It is divine action, orchestrated through his heavenly messengers. But the angels also teach us something important about ourselves, that we are co-creators of our own spiritual journey. They show us that, even with divine help, true change begins within. It is not enough to passively wait for a miracle. We must act with faith. We must actively seek divine wisdom and be receptive to the messages God sends through the angels. They guide us, but it is our responsibility to walk in the direction shown to us. Sometimes the greatest obstacle we face is not external difficulties, but our internal resistance. Our fears, our anxieties, our doubts resist. But the angels, with their divine wisdom, encourage us to overcome these obstacles, reminding us that true peace comes from trusting in God. When we surrender our fears to Him, allowing His peace to reign in our hearts, we begin to see the true nature of the help offered to us. In moments of weakness, when the burdens of life seem unbearable, the angels are present to remind us that we are stronger than we think. They remind us that in Christ, we can find the strength to face any challenge. The spiritual battle is real, but the victory has already been won. And as we follow the path of faith in partnership with the angels, we begin to realize that there is no force in the world capable of deviating us from God's love and protection. Therefore, the presence of angels is not something to be recognized only in moments of crisis. They are with us in every moment of our lives, helping us to live with purpose and integrity. By seeking the divine presence, by trusting the signs and guidance given to us, we can strengthen our faith and walk closer to God. We are not alone. Divine help is always within reach, often disguised in simple and subtle gestures, but always powerful. In a world full of uncertainties, trust in the angels and their mission to guide us can be the anchor we need. They remind us that there is more to life than what we can see with our physical eyes. There is a spiritual reality that, if we are attentive, we can perceive in our hearts. And by recognizing this reality, we are invited to live more fully, more connected to God's will, more aware of His presence in our lives. Therefore, never underestimate the power of prayer and faith. When we invoke God's help, we are also calling the angels to act in our lives. They respond to our cry, guide us through difficulties, help us discern God's will, and bring us peace in the midst of the storm. The most important thing to remember is that God has never abandoned us. His messengers are here, with us, as signs of His eternal love, always ready to help us follow the path that leads to the fullness of His grace. And as we deepen this understanding, we can live with more confidence, more hope, and more joy, knowing that regardless of what happens, we will always have by our side those who were sent to protect us, guide us, and remind us that the spiritual journey, though challenging, is also a journey of great beauty and redemption. As we come to the end of this moment of reflection, it is important that we remember that despite life's adversities, we are accompanied by a heavenly army, ready to guide and protect us every step of the way. Angels are not just mystical figures or distant beings. They are manifestations of God's care, disguised as subtle interventions, ready to help us understand more deeply what it means to live in His will. In our spiritual journey, the most important thing is not just to seek answers, but to be willing to listen, to be sensitive to divine signs, and to trust, above all, that there is something greater guiding us. This trust in God and His heavenly messengers is the key to achieving true peace. We do not have to face life's challenges alone. Help is always around us, even when we do not perceive it immediately. God's love is unconditional, and He reveals Himself in many ways, including through the protective and guiding presence of angels. Now, as we reflect on everything that has been shared, I want to invite you to continue your own spiritual journey with more confidence. Seek the divine in your life. Be attentive to the signs and allow yourself to be guided by this invisible but powerful presence. Let the angels lead you to a fuller, more conscious life, more connected to the divine purpose. Remember, you are never alone. If you felt that this message touched your heart, if it inspired you to seek more, if you want to know more about how to walk this journey with confidence and faith, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, we address topics that deeply touch the spirit, with reflections that can change the way you see the world and your own life. Join us on this journey and allow the knowledge and divine light to transform your spiritual path. Subscribe now. Activate the bell so you don't miss any content that could be essential for your faith and spiritual development. May God bless your life, today and always.